This story titled, My Ex-Best Friend Stole My Life Savings to Pay for Her Dream Wedding, so I exposed her lies and took legal action. Hey everyone, my name is Kate, I'm 28 years old, and I live in a small but cozy apartment in Denver, Colorado. I work as a marketing consultant, and I've always been the type of person who believes in working hard for what I have. I'm also the kind of person who trusts easily, maybe a little too easily, especially when it came to my best friend, Chloe. Chloe and I had been inseparable since high school. We were those kind of friends who shared everything, our secrets, our dreams, even our fears. I could tell her anything and trust that it would stay between us. Or at least, that's what I thought. Chloe and I went through all the major life milestones together, graduating college, starting our careers, and navigating the ups and downs of adulthood. But when it came time for Chloe's wedding, that's when things took a dark turn. Chloe had been planning her wedding for months, telling me about all the grand ideas she had for her big day. She was determined to have a fairy tale wedding, complete with an extravagant venue, a designer dress, and a wedding planner who could make her vision come to life. At first, I was thrilled for her. She deserved it. She had always dreamed of this moment, and I wanted to be the best bridesmaid I could be. But things started to get a little weird when Chloe kept asking for financial help. She knew I had been saving up for a down payment on my first home. Years of hard work, cutting back on luxuries, and putting my savings in a high-interest account to build a comfortable nest egg. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough to make that dream a reality. So when Chloe asked if I could lend her some money to cover some wedding expenses, I didn't hesitate. She said she just needed a little help, a couple $1,000s here and there to cover the venue deposit, the flowers, and a few other smaller costs. She promised she would pay me back as soon as she could, and I believed her. At first, everything seemed fine. I transferred the money, and Chloe reassured me she was doing her best to stick to a budget. She even promised she would invite me to every fitting, every decision-making moment, so I would feel included in her special day. I wanted to be a good friend, so I happily agreed to help out. But as the months went on, Chloe's financial requests grew more frequent, and the amount started increasing. $5,000, then $10,000. She told me it was for the dress, the catering, the photographers, and even the honeymoon. Every time, she had some new excuse or story about how she was short on cash, and I, being the loyal, caring friend, kept saying yes. After all, she had always been there for me. What were friends for, if not to help each other out in times of need? It wasn't until a few weeks before the wedding that I started to feel something was off. Chloe stopped mentioning paying me back. Whenever I brought it up, she would deflect, telling me she was waiting on some invoices, or figuring out her final budget. I told myself it was fine. We were best friends. I knew she was just stressed out about her big day. But the more I thought about it, the more I started to wonder if she was using me. The breaking point came when Chloe's wedding day was finally approaching, and I noticed something strange. The wedding was going to be way more extravagant than she had originally described. The venue was a luxury estate in the mountains. The guest list had doubled, and the reception was turning into an all-night celebration with a live band and fireworks. I had to admit, I was shocked. This was more than I could have ever imagined. And then came the ultimate shock. One afternoon, Chloe asked if we could meet up to talk. I agreed, thinking we would discuss last-minute details about the wedding. But when we sat down at a cafe, Chloe looked at me with a strange expression on her face. "Kate," she began, her voice soft but uncertain, "there's something I need to tell you." I braced myself, thinking she was going to talk about the wedding or maybe even ask for more help. But instead, she said something that left me speechless. "I can't pay you back." I stared at her, not understanding at first. "What do you mean?" "You promised." She swallowed hard and looked away. "Kate, the wedding, it's been a lot more expensive than I anticipated. I've had to make some choices." I didn't understand. She had been taking my savings for months, and now she was telling me that she couldn't pay me back. That was when it hit me, the truth I didn't want to believe. Chloe had no intention of paying me back. She had been using me all along. I sat there in stunned silence, my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't comprehend what Chloe was saying. How could she be so cold? She had taken my life savings, my hard-earned money, and now she was telling me she couldn't pay me back. For what? A wedding? I forced myself to take a deep breath, trying to hold back the anger and hurt that was bubbling up inside me. Chloe, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, you've taken everything from me. I've helped you for months, supported you, and this is how you repay me? Her face softened, and she placed her hands on the table. I never meant to hurt you, Kate. I was just trying to have the wedding of my dreams. And I know I've asked for a lot, but I thought you understood. You know how important this is to me. I stood up, my hands trembling. This is not just about your wedding. This is about trust, Chloe. You lied to me. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I couldn't look at her without feeling disgusted. You've been using me this whole time, haven't you? You made me feel guilty for not helping, and now you're telling me you don't have any intention of paying me back. This isn't friendship. This is theft. Her face turned pale, and for the first time I saw guilt in her eyes. But it was too late. The damage had already been done. I stormed out of the cafe, my mind racing. I had been blinded by years of friendship, blinded by trust. I couldn't believe I had allowed someone I cared about to exploit me like this. That night I sat in my apartment, staring at the empty walls, trying to process everything that had just happened. My life savings, the money I had worked so hard for, was gone. I had no way to buy a house now, no way to secure my future. I had been robbed, and it was by the one person who I thought would always have my back. I wanted to confront Chloe to demand my money back, but deep down I knew that she wasn't going to change. She had already made her choice, and I had to make mine. The next morning I called my bank. I didn't care how difficult it would be. I was going to dispute the transactions and take action. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I couldn't let Chloe's actions define my future. I couldn't let her win. I spent the next few days gathering everything, all the evidence I needed to show that Chloe had been taking advantage of me. I had screenshots of our conversations, bank records, and even some of the receipts for the expensive purchases she'd made. But I didn't just want to get my money back. I wanted to make sure Chloe faced the consequences of what she had done. I didn't care if we had been best friends for years. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was fraud. And Chloe was going to pay for it. I hired a lawyer. We filed a fraud claim and began the legal process of getting Chloe to repay what she had stolen from me. It wasn't easy. Chloe had made sure to hide most of her tracks, but we managed to gather enough evidence to present a solid case. I knew this would take time, and I knew it would be difficult, but I also knew it was the only way to hold her accountable. As the weeks passed, Chloe tried to contact me. At first, she sent apologies, saying she was sorry and didn't know how things got so out of hand. She begged me to let her explain herself, to forgive her, and move on. But I couldn't. I couldn't even look at her messages without feeling the weight of the betrayal on my shoulders. One night she called me. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail. Kate, please. You don't understand what I was going through. I was under so much pressure, and I just wanted everything to be perfect. I didn't mean to hurt you. I can't lose you as a friend. Her words were empty, and for a moment I felt a flicker of sadness. But then I remembered how she had used me. I remembered how she had taken my life savings without a second thought. That sadness quickly turned into anger. Anger at myself for being so trusting. Anger at Chloe for not valuing me as a friend. I blocked her number. I didn't want to hear her excuses. I wanted to focus on getting my money back and moving on with my life. The case dragged on for months, but eventually the court ruled in my favor. Chloe was forced to repay every penny she had taken from me. On top of that, she was ordered to pay restitution for the emotional distress and financial hardship her actions had caused me. Chloe's wedding was still happening, but it wasn't the fairy tale she had hoped for. She had to scale back the venue, the catering, and the guest list. She lost most of the money she had planned to spend on the wedding, and it was clear to everyone that she had been exposed for what she truly was. But me? I had my money back. I had justice. More importantly, I had learned a valuable lesson. Never again would I let someone take advantage of me like that, and I would never, ever let her steal from me again. The aftermath of all of this was almost surreal. Chloe had tried to reach out once again, but this time it felt different. There was no remorse in her voice, just bitterness. She didn't even apologize for her actions. She simply told me how unfair the situation was. She claimed that she was just trying to make her dream wedding come true, and that she had no choice but to ask for the money, despite the fact that she knew it was wrong. She even tried to turn it around and blame me for not understanding how much stress she was under. It was laughable, honestly. I had helped her for months, even when I knew it meant putting my own dreams on hold. And now, here she was, trying to play the victim. It was like she couldn't even recognize how deeply she had hurt me. At this point, I had no interest in her excuses or the weight of her guilt. All I wanted was for her to face the consequences of what she had done. And ultimately, she did. The most interesting part was how Chloe's wedding turned out. Sure, she still married her fiancé, but the wedding wasn't anywhere near what she had envisioned. Without the funds from me and with the financial penalties she had to pay, she had to downgrade her entire event. The guests were smaller in number, the venue was far more modest, and the dream wedding she'd fantasized about for years was more of a modest affair. It wasn't the grand, luxurious celebration she had planned. It was a smaller gathering in a less expensive venue. As I watched from the sidelines, seeing her dream slowly fall apart, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. She had gotten exactly what she deserved. It wasn't about the wedding, though. It wasn't about revenge. It was about standing up for myself, reclaiming what was mine, and ensuring that someone who betrayed me didn't get away with it. But that feeling didn't last long. Chloe was not the only one affected by her actions. Her family and friends also began to see the truth. I wasn't the only one who had been hurt. Chloe had used her family's trust to cover up her behavior for months, and now they were also left dealing with the mess she'd created. They didn't understand why she had made those choices, and her reputation was tarnished forever. Meanwhile, my life slowly started to get back on track. I focused on my work, rebuilding my savings, and enjoying the things I had been forced to put on hold during all the chaos. Slowly but surely, I started to trust myself again, and realized that no matter what Chloe had done, it didn't define me. It didn't change who I was as a person. I was strong, independent, and capable of moving forward. But the one thing I couldn't forget was the emotional toll this entire situation had taken on me. Trusting someone completely, only to have them betray you in the worst possible way, left a scar that I would never completely heal from. I had learned to be more careful with who I let into my life, and I had learned the value of setting boundaries. I also learned the importance of valuing myself. I had spent so much time supporting Chloe and putting her needs above my own that I forgot about the things that really mattered to me. It was time to focus on my own goals, my career, my dreams, and my future. After the case was settled, I received a letter from Chloe. It was a long message filled with apologies and a half-hearted explanation. In it, she told me how much she regretted what had happened and how she wished she had handled things differently. She even asked for my forgiveness, saying that she had been in such a dark place at the time and that she never meant for it to spiral out of control. But I read her words with a skeptical eye. Her apology was meaningless now. I didn't want her back in my life. Not after everything she had done. She had been dishonest, manipulative, and selfish. And now, the only thing I could do was move on. I didn't respond to her letter. I didn't need to. I had already made my peace. As for Chloe, well, she had to live with the consequences of her actions. There was no going back for her. She had burned bridges with more people than just me, and she had lost the trust of many. Her life, once filled with the promise of a perfect wedding and a bright future, was now filled with reality checks. It was hard to watch, but in the end, it was what she had earned. And me? I walked away from the whole situation stronger than ever before. I learned my lesson and vowed never to let anyone take advantage of me again. I was worth more than that, and no one, not even someone I thought was my best friend, would ever be allowed to steal my dreams again. In the end, life moved on. I rebuilt, I healed, and I grew. I took everything I learned and used it to build a better future. I didn't need Chloe, and I didn't need her apology. I had what mattered most, my self-respect, and the lesson that no one could take that away from me. So, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have taken legal action, or would you have tried to work things out with your friend? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. You won't want to miss what comes next.